the Young Turks. So they've been really annoying lately, like in a myriad of ways. Their drift whiteward, Jesus Christ, their drift rightward has been annoying because they were always like annoying liberals, even at their best. But they were at least kind of based back in the day a bit, and like they're tolerable, I guess. Whereas now it's understandable where Dave Rubin and Jimmy Dore came from. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's understandable.
Yeah.
That's what like, it doesn't seem like an abhorrent thing that they've moved out. If anything, Emma Vigeland staying as a left winger when she left is the weird outlier in that situation. It would appear, which is you know, a thing.
Oh, don't forget Michael Tracy as well.
Michael Tracy, lest we forget, an absolute legend of the genre of former TYT employees gone right wing lunatic. Yes. And then we had this one, which was, again, a beauty, from yesterday when the Grand Wizards that rule America, otherwise known as the Supreme Court, decided that actually black people can't have anything. And so they got rid of affirmative action in colleges, which is like positive discrimination, it's referred to here in Britain. And you'd think to yourself, okay, some basic, like, sticking plaster liberal solutions to the problems of race in America, that being scrapped would be a bad thing, right? Like, even the sticking plaster solutions to the problems aren't allowed under the law. You'd think that would be a bad thing. But Cenk has different ideas on the matter, as we can see here. He says, hang on a minute, if I change my fucking screen. There we go. I think Supreme Court got the affirmative action case right. I'm sick of the stereotypes that attach to all minorities because of this policy. It was necessary in the beginning, but it has become counterproductive.
Yeah.
Cenk, do you think that black people are gonna stop saying you were an affirmative action hire because they got rid of it in colleges? Like, this is. Do you have any good takes anymore?
I've not seen a good take from Cenk in quite a while at this point, to be honest.
Yeah. The last good take, out of the Young Turks was ironically Jimmy Dore spitting at Alex Jones. I think, to be honest.
I mean, I think what's ironic, right? I feel like with Cenk, he's really going down like a super right wing route, regardless. But with Anna, I think it's different. Like, I don't think Anna is going down a kind of class reductionist kind of lens, really and truly. Because Cenk basically he's none of his politics are particularly left wing.
Yeah.
But at least Anna Kasparian tries to talk about economics.
Yeah.
She had a debate with Ben Shapiro about 6 months ago, might have been.
Yes.
And her main point of this was entirely economics based, right? But the thing is, even with a case like this, with the Supreme Court affirmative action case, the whole point of getting in, as far as universities are concerned in America, whatever it is, the whole point of getting in there in the first place is to be able to improve economic potential, because it's all been financialized, just like it has over here.
Yes.
And so if you all think about economic justice for people who are from disadvantaged backgrounds, then surely, if you are, as Anna is, a class reductionist, you'd want there to be this recognition of how disenfranchised minorities, such as ethnic minorities in the United States, could have access to other levers to be able to get onto a higher, to be able to access social mobility.
Yeah. I agree with you to an extent, but I think there's a caveat involved. I think certainly her weird takes on the kind of let's say the first trip on the TERF train, which we'll get to the second trip in just a second. With her being really offended by the term, was it person who ovulates or something, when no one calls her that outside of obviously a medical and therefore needing to be clinically precise framework. It's ridiculous.
And even then, no one's calling her that in that case. They're using it as a collective term for a group of people who are unified by that singular thing, right?
Birthing person was the phrase. There we go. Yes, and she's one of my favourite birthing people. It's lovely. Anyway,
I've since people started getting angry and being called cis, I've decided to start calling all cis people cis-identified AMABs or cis-identified AFABs.
True.
Because I know how much they hate all of it.
True. Look, can we please not use the C word, okay? Especially with a hard R. Okay, we don't need that. With a soft A, we might be able to get away with it, but please. So there's that. But also, if I don't think you can let her off by just saying she's going down. Well, actually, let her off. That's not really the proper phrase. But I don't think you can ameliorate the damage that her changes of opinion are by saying it's just class reductionism. Because I think if that were the case, her weird obsession with homelessness and how the homeless should be, I don't know, minced up and fed to poor people or something. I don't know quite where she stands.
Is that really her take?
She's very, very anti-homeless. Yes, she's been.
Wow, in which case that's
grim.
that's fucked. Like the single most disenfranchised minority within capitalism.
Well, because she's a rich white person from California. Of course, she hates homeless people.
Yeah, true. But it's interesting because they keep trying to say, "Oh, there's progressive governments in San Francisco." Yeah, like not economically progressive governments. Right?
I'll just say Kamala Harris came from San Francisco and leave it there, I think.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, and of course her obsession with like locking everyone up who's ever committed any crime whatsoever, basically. So like even if she's doing
route.
Yeah, even if she's doing class reductionism, she's even doing that badly.
I mean, yeah, that's right. I didn't know about her homeless takes, in which case, yeah, she's not doing class reductionism. She's just being
a twat.
Shit.
Yeah. And on that note, quick little video. This is again the second trip on the TERF train, as I've decided to call it. The thing they're talking about here is trans people in sports, because that's the big issue, obviously. And they get quite passionate about it in a really bad way.
Okay, and what I just saw with my own eyes.
Can you hear that? Is that coming through
yes.
for you? Good.
Yes.
This is not an anecdote. The polling bears it out.
Yeah.
This is not a winning issue for us. It is what it is. You do what you want with that information.
Well, the advocates and activists for the transgender community would respond with, "We don't care about the politics, right? We don't care."
Okay,
about...
then don't come. No, I gotta see.
Can I just already? Who's saying they don't care about the politics? Who is saying that?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to say don't care about the politics, as if everything is political, right? They don't care about the what she really means is they don't care about the optics, right?
Yeah.
That's what that's what she's trying to say here, is that there are people out there who are more concerned with the actual material reality of trans people than they are with the potential political optics for the fucking Democratic Party.
That's
and I'm
the
like,
point,
okay.
Yeah,
I think maybe things are a little bit more important than that.
Yeah, they're just simping for the Democratic Party. Yes.
Yeah.
And throwing trans people under the bus in the process. Thanks, guys.
Let me just finish my thought, Jake, for 1 second.
Go ahead.
Okay, they'll say that, but okay, you don't care about the politics? Let's just, for once in your life, think strategically about what that means. That means that you're going to continue pushing the Democratic Party to unequivocally support everything that the trans activists want, even if it's unpopular among the electorate. That means they're not getting reelected. That means they're going to lose to Republicans. Republican lawmakers who are passing draconian, disgusting legislation in various states right now as we speak against the transgender community.
Well, I mean, yeah, clearly, if they lose to Republicans, that would be bad. But what happens when they do get elected? Because last time I checked, they have the Senate and the presidency. They previously had the House. What exactly did they do with that? That was so fantastic.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
don't get me wrong.
right.
I think they're better than Trump, but that's not enough for me at all.
So the only policies that you got out of the Democratic Party with this regards to on a federal level, really and truly, was that in like the first week or whatever it was, Biden issued an executive order rescinding Trump's executive order, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as Wayward Historian points out, so Anna's take is basically the transes had it coming because they dared to, be uppity about it. It's really pathetic.
Even if you're looking at it from the optics perspective, who out there is only voting for the Republicans because the Democratic Party are supportive of trans women competing in sports?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Who is that? I mean, people keep telling me that these people exist, right? Do they ever come out in polling numbers, right? I'm not saying I have to have personal interaction with them for them to exist, because that'd be silly. But do they actually come out in polling numbers for this stuff when you do overall discussions of policy?
Nope.
I mean, maybe if the opponent was somebody other than Trump, maybe if it's someone like a more kind of center-right Republican on economics, who is not they exist, but if theoretical, like who's the woman who keeps being called a rhino?
Oh, fuck's sake, yeah, daughter of, what's his face? Big fucking bollocks. What's her name? Okay, yeah.
Can't remember.
Someone will tell me in
know.
chat. Yes, continue with the point.
Yeah, so if you had someone like that who could win people over on a less like disaster capitalism economic platform,
Liz
and wasn't
Cheney.
as racist, Liz Cheney, and wasn't as racist, obviously
Yes.
still pretty racist, not as overtly racist as they are.
Yes.
Like someone who could theoretically win over traditionalist voters who don't want, poor people to be thrown up in bin bags and put into the canal, theoretically. Then I could see them, maybe they might lose votes. But at the moment, again, to this Republican Party, like, people are voting based upon the vibes of the candidate, really, at this point. Really and truly, the vast majority. And if your opponent is going to be Trump, which it almost certainly will be, I don't think there's any world in which, unless Trump gets put in prison before the primaries start, I don't think there's any way in which Trump is not the nominee for the Republican Party.
And by the way,
you don't have to pay. Then the finer points of policies around transgender people is not going to make the list of things people care about in 2024.
Also, even if he does get imprisoned, he could still run. And I think he'd still have a good chance, even from a jail cell, of becoming the candidate. He'd lose the election, of course, but I think he could become the candidate. He's got such a lead that even imprisoned Trump would still probably win. Which, I mean, shows you the brokenness of that system.
It might boost his polling numbers, to be honest.
It might do, yeah, because you can say, this is a political hit job. They're trying to silence me and silence you in the process. It works for him, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think he'll probably still win in that case. But yeah, you're right. People don't really care about trans issues. Look, it makes for good content fodder for, right-wing dickheads. But people aren't voting on that. Because by and large, what matters to people is how much money they've got in their pocket. Do they live in a safe neighbourhood? Do their kids go to a good school? Etc., etc. They don't really care about trans people going for a piss.
It is indeed about the economy, stupid. It always has been.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty core bread and butter issues that people generally are voting on. They're not voting on whether someone uses these pronouns. No one cares. It's not an issue.
And the polling also what we have is the polling shows this specifically with regards to attitudes towards the Republican Party in specific. In the there's a regular 3 hours video showing that people are being completely turned away by the absolute obsession with the existence of trans people amongst the wider GOP, not just their politicians, but their hangers-on and their media lovies as well.
Yes.
That they're actually turning people off by the fact that they're completely out of touch with the genuine economic realities for everybody. And the thing is, because that's affecting the middle class, not just the working class in America. In fact, it's probably affecting the middle class more in America, as working class people are the ones who are usually going to be bargaining for higher wages. So inflation's not hitting them, but inflation is hitting the savings accounts of middle class people in suburbs.
Yeah, indeed.
Community. So how does that make you win exactly?
No, that is incredibly selfish of activists who are betraying their own community. Because when you...
Cenk, maybe if the Democratic Party weren't, how do I put this, fucking dog shit, then trans people making slightly inconvenient claims to rights wouldn't be a problem and you'd still get elected. Maybe if they weren't all corporatist fuckheads, the American people might actually vote for them.
And this is like the party apparatchik line on all of these things, right?
Yeah.
It is literally, unless you have a total fealty to the whims and wishes of the electability of the political party that I'm a member of and I support, then you are not just betraying me, but you're betraying yourself as well.
Yeah.
It's the same people who just say, well, call you a Tory enabler if you support, if you don't support Keir Starmer lurching the Labour Party to the centre right, essentially.
Yeah. Okay, well, does she know that MLK didn't have popular support in his own time? Civil rights activists are almost never popular in their own time. Very true. Very true. Yeah.
The irony, of course, is this is that we're activists wanting to go back. We want to go back to before all of this stuff kicked off. When, for example, I don't know, the International Olympics Committee had it so that trans women could just compete in the Olympics and no one cared. And it only cared in the last 2 years since the wizard lady kicked up a massive fucking stink about it.
True. The wizard Nazi. Sue me, bitch. Come for me. See what I fucking care.
You say I don't care about elections. Who cares about the Democrats? That isn't the point.
You only care about the Democrats. That's it. That's the problem, Cenk. You're basically saying, trans people, can you stop Like, this might be slightly inconvenient in, like, a swing district in Georgia. I don't fucking care. Like, I don't care. I don't do human rights on the basis of maybe there's a swing district in some fucking red hellhole. That's blue in Britain, whatever. Some conservative hellhole that you might lose 3 votes. I don't fucking care. Be better then. Stop being cunts.
Yeah.
It's actually not that difficult.
Yep.
Republicans introduced over 600 bills against the LGBTQ community. That's because of elections. And over 70 of them have already.
That's because of gerrymandering and voter suppression and a broken electoral system. You patronising wanker.
The thing is, right? Maybe he'd have a point. Maybe he'd have a point if the Democrats have any desire to fix any of these things, which clearly they fucking don't. They've not done it when they had a trifecta. What is it? Fucking 8 months ago.
Well, not just that, but they had like if you remember was it the $15 minimum wage thing, and they said the parliamentarian said they couldn't have it, even though the parliamentarian has literally no power in the situation whatsoever. Like, just come out and say you don't want to do it then. Just come out and say, actually, we don't want to do this thing. Judge us accordingly, you dishonest bastards.
The irony as well is that a bunch of people will just continue voting for the Democratic Party, even if they abandoned trans people's rights, right? For example, the idea that this only ever goes one way, right?
Yeah.
You have to concede to the wishes of the Democratic Party to be able to get what scraps they'll throw at you.
Yeah.
But if it works the other way around, then woe betide you, would say.
Well, I mean, to bring the British equation into the situation, we're supposed to just accept that the Labour Party are absolute fucking dog mess. Just an absolute cavalcade of broken promises, virtually indistinguishable from the Tories. You've got Labour MPs being openly transphobic on Twitter. Rosie Duffield, she won't lose the whip over that. Well, I'm not voting for this. I'm not fucking doing it. I'm sorry, no. Whilst all of those criteria are in place, I cannot and will not vote for that fucking shower of dog shit.
It's actually the irony as well as that I probably would still vote for the Democratic Party if I was in America, right? Mostly, not even because I actually think the Democratic Party are any better or worse than the Labour Party. They're basically the same. I don't see any differences between the two parties generally, apart from that Joe Biden is at least happy to say that he supports trans people, unlike Keir Starmer, who's been specifically a mum on that thing, and I think deliberately so, as to keep people like Rosie Duffield on side.
Yeah.
But I would still vote for the Democrats, mostly because I believe that the GOP are just that much worse than the Conservative Party, right?
Yeah.
It's getting close as time goes on, but you know the GOP are just like, as Noam Chomsky, disgraced intellectual Noam Chomsky would say, that the GOP are literally the threat to human life as we know it.
Very much so.
Already passed. When you say I don't care about winning and I don't care about elections, what you're saying is
no one's saying they don't care about winning. No one's saying that. People are saying various things, of course, but I would argue that the vast majority of trans people, progressive people, would say, how about we give the working class a reason to actually vote for us then? Why don't we do that? And then actually they won't give the slightest shiny shit about trans people's rights or otherwise, and we can just, get on with things. Doesn't need to be an issue. If we had an actual policy platform that appealed to working class people, the trans issue wouldn't be an issue. But we're not.
100%.
We're in the pocket of big business. So actually, fuck it. We're just gonna say trans people shut up instead. No, fuck you.
Speaking of the Labour Party being in collusion with big business, did you see today that there was a leaked email that came out from the water industry?
Oh, okay.
Saying that, so it was the head of Severn Trent, the CEO of Severn Trent, had sent an email round to all the other CEOs of all the other water companies, saying that she'd been in conversation with members of the Labour Party, in line with one of the directors for Compass, an old kind of Labour-linked think tank. Sorry, it's a different one. So that guy got expelled from Labour. Ignore me. There was another person, I forget, who was part of the kind of the new Labour kind of policy.
Wonk community.
Policy. Yeah.
The Labour Wonk industrial complex.
Like the Labour Wonk industrial complex.
Yeah.
Saying that they were trying to make sure they had an agreement with Labour that they weren't going to nationalise it. They wanted to build some kind of alternative where they kept them privately owned but turn them into socially conscious companies.
Oh, my soul just evaporated.
So we literally
hearing
have
those
the Labour
words.
leadership colluding with the auto industry to make sure they're protected from nationalisation.
Honestly, a part of me just died and disintegrated into nothingness. It was like pouring water on a fucking witch, that sentence.
Yeah.
Amazing, yeah, brilliant. Also, did you see that the Sir Keith attended Google's annual party gathering in London? And then 4 days later, the Labour Party announced that they were scrapping their planned one-off surtax on tech companies in order to pay for fibre optic broadband across the whole country.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Keith. Again, I'm not voting for you, you fucking tepid piece of dog mess. Go away. Go away forever. Terms of service. I just can't.
I'm super selfish leftist activist, and I'd like to build my cloud. But meanwhile, I'm willing to throw trans people and the entire LGBTQ community under the bus, knowing that these bills are gonna pass because we're laser focused on a losing issue. And
Hang on, who's laser focused on this? Who is laser focused on this? You're the one bringing it up. It's the fucking Conservatives that are making a massive issue out of this. Trans people just want to go on with their fucking lives.
Literally. Exactly.
This is a solid meme. Anna in the 1960s. How can LBJ win if he ends at segregation? True.
I'm thinking it's not the one. There's plenty of parties that have continually doing this kind of stuff, right? Remember when we decriminalised homosexuality? When
Yes.
it was massively unpopular, but it was the right thing to do. It was
Indeed.
the right thing to do. And they did it.
Indeed, they did. And in some respects, they did pay an electoral cost for that. But you know what? The country was made immeasurably better for it. And actually, isn't that the point? Actually? No? Is it just about power? Okay, why not be a fascist?
Well, I mean,
then?
to
Fuck
these
it.
people, yes. To these people, yes. It is just about power. Like, I understand that we need to make concessions. I understand that. But make concessions on things that matter. On things that matter, or things that, by making a concession on, you are not doing a grave injustice, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
by the way, you schmucks, you're falling exactly into the right-wing trap. The Republicans, they tried everything. They tried anti-gay stuff, it didn't work.
Didn't work. Cenk, I mean, I know technically this happened after you made this announcement, but the Supreme Court just allowed a company to deny service on the basis of the sexual orientation of customers. Directly, basically overturning the equality of gay and queer Americans. What do you mean it didn't work?
But Kev, they're only in that position because the GOP won elections and were allowed to put people onto the Supreme Court. Well, so it means you have to win the elections in the first place, except they wouldn't even run on this. They didn't run on this kind of stuff.
Nope. And also, I think it was Sotomayor has voted with the Conservative judges like 40% of the time anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, they're all fucking liberal fucking darling sweetheart Ruth Bader Ginsburg literally came out and said BLM was bad. Like, I don't give a fuck for your liberal bullshit then.
And also on top of all of that, Biden still has the power to expand the Supreme Court. Does he do it? Does he fuck?
No, because he's a institutionalist. He doesn't give a fuck.
Yep.
None of them do. Like, they're insistent we're going to play by the rules, even though the Republicans have said explicitly we will not ever play by the rules. So basically, you're telling trans people roll over and just take that punishment, and we will do nothing to actually effectively stop this.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant, thanks.
Tried trans bathrooms, you remember that? That didn't work. Kicking the transgender community out of the military, that didn't work. They drilled in until they finally found a little tiny nugget of like, hey, trans folks in like competitive sports seems a little bit much. And you don't engage them in that fight. They lose on everything else. But
do they? What about all those other bills then, Cenk? What are they losing on exactly in America? Seems to me they're taking some pretty big W's in America. And you just want the trans people to hand them another W for your own ease and comfort? Eat my dick, mate.
Yeah, true.
idiot activists, yes, I just called you an idiot. Activists go in there and go, no, I'm going to fall right into that trap.
Can I just point out that when Cenk stood for election, he got virtually no votes? I just want to point that out at the end. The great election understander didn't get elected, and it wasn't even close. To the Young Turks, I say, go fuck yourselves. Any final thoughts from you?
And I think you summarised it pretty well. It's interesting, and you say obviously, you know, that the GOP have said they're not going to play by the rules, and they've put the rule book in a blend tech blender and snorted it like cocaine. That's what they've really done.
True. But you know, we can't actually do anything about it because that would be bad. Brilliant, thanks, Joe.
No, absolutely. Didn't Joe? I think Morinakis just put in my chat, but I think Joe Biden literally tweeted in support of trans people in sports. Let me have a look.
Did they? Oh, God, that's good. I mean, it doesn't effectively help anybody in the sense that it's not a law, it's not an executive action, but it's still nice, I guess.
Let me have a look. See him in 2020 saying it's the civil rights issue of our time, and there's no room for compromise when it comes to basic human rights. Okay,
that's based. That's good. Yeah, but I mean, again, I'd like you to pass. I'd like you to actually effectively do something about that. You know, it's okay saying shit. Like, I mean, today the tiny Rishi Sunak announced they're going to increase the number of people working for the NHS by 300,000. How are you going to do that? By
magic.
How are you going to do that, Rishi? What's like? It's a nice sentiment. So was 10 new hospitals, mate. But how are you actually going to instigate that? What are you going to do? Kidnap people from other countries or something? Where are they coming from? Dickhead.